In this video, we're going to look at the administrator assessment tools. There are a couple of different tools in here embedded in it. We look at administrator assessment as the broad category, but it includes both the board's assessment of the head of school as well as the head of school or principal's assessment of other principals and directors, assistants, anyone with a leadership role that reports directly to the head of school. So I'll share the screen with you. You can take a look at how this works. So we're here in the administrator assessment. We see that there are, in this particular school, there are 4 administrators. One is the head of school. There's an elementary principal, director or administrator, could be finance or director of advancement, and a secondary principal. So if we go into and look at these reports for the head of school, we see there's a summary page. There are the domains that we look at: Christian character, people skills, knowledge, and leadership, as well as opportunity for open-ended comments. And this feedback includes indirect feedback from parents and students, and staff rather. And by that, I mean these are pulled from the parent perspective survey. So it's not a survey that we send out to parents for them to comment specifically on how the head of school is doing their job, or for staff to comment on that or comment on any other administrator, because often they don't really understand their job. They don't have a good, helpful perspective on it. So the board evaluates the head of school. But one of the ways that we want to look at that is, how are parents feeling generally? So, for example, we do ask parents some questions about knowledge and leadership. They're different than what the board would get. The school is effectively led. Leadership decisions align with the mission and values. Leadership commitments communicates a clear vision for the school. So this is helpful context for the overall discussion about how the head of school is doing. But they're very different than the kinds of questions that we ask the board. So if we drill down into the board discussion, knowledge and leadership, it's much more sophisticated and there's more of the questions. Provides clear mission-aligned leadership, sets strategic priorities that advance the school, leads academic program effectively, stewards finances and resources, develops and supports the leadership team, communicates results and progress, leads change thoughtfully and effectively. So it's a different question set for the board, and that's the one that is most important. But we have all of these inputs for context. So this is what staff are saying, parents are saying. In this particular school, there's a lot of agreement here. So there's nothing to really concern ourselves with this. Looks very solid across the board. But that's how we approach the head of school feedback, board assessment of the head, and then you can generate a report. You generate that report, you can include the 3 components. These are, again, for perspective only. They're not direct questions asked of them about the head, but they're there for context. And then, of course, the board or supervisor agreement. Now, the board is the only supervisor for the head of school, but if we go back to some of our other administrators, so if we take our elementary principal here, we have the same sort of thing. So the staff and parent experience or their perspective is included, but again, it's indirect evidence. It's not them specifically commenting about that administrator. And particularly when you get down into those who report to the head of school, they may be responsible for a fairly small group of teachers, 5 or 6 elementary teachers, or perhaps it's the director of advancement who has only 3 people reporting to them. And so when you try to get what we would call 360-degree feedback to this person, it's a very limited number of people. And so it becomes problematic both for privacy reasons. Can these people really be anonymous in what they say? And also the validity of just those number of responses. At the end of the day, we've included it. And to be honest, schools can do whatever they wish. They can ask anyone they wish to respond to any survey in the school or in the entire CSM data system. But in terms of how we have designed it, which we think is based on solid research, this is the way we would recommend. And again, One of the final tabs here is the learning journey. And this is for discussion, so we can talk about, are things going well? Where can we improve? What could we add on to? Very similar to the learning journey that we have for teachers. So that's the administrator assessment tab, very key for evaluating your leadership team in your school. So everybody has feedback from somebody. Everybody gets evaluated by somebody.